In this how-to, we are going to learn how to get the username of the logged in user in our application. And this is specifically for the Forms Authentication. Means when you have implemented Forms Authentication in your application and you want to retrieve the username of the user who has logged in, then you can use this. So for example, here is my application and I am going to run this application. View in browser. This is the same application that I had shown in my last demo of Forms Authentication. So here is the home page. Now let me first log in, and I am using JOE and ELAN, Joylan, and yes, and I am logged in. Now remember that in order to write here Joy, I am using the ASP.NET control named ASP login name. Let me show you that. I am using ASP login name. But what if you have to explicitly retrieve the username of the logged in user and write it on the page? So in that case, what you can do is that you can use this code that I had shown in the ebook. Let me just write it down. Response.write user.identity.name. So you can write response.write user.identity.name. Using this, you will be able to write the or get the username of the logged in user. So for example, I can also write username is equal to this, and then I can write the here username. Write username. Now if I will run this page, then you will see that my username will be printed on the page. Joy is printed on the page. So using user.identity.name, you will be able to retrieve the username of the person or user who has logged in to your application using Forms Authentication. Now in this how-to, we are going to learn that how to implement roles-based authentication in ASP.NET. In previous how-to, we learned that how to implement Forms Authentication in ASP.NET, but we could not see that how to use role-based authentication. For example, if I have many users and some of them have admin role, some of them has a moderator role, and some of them has a normal user role, then how to manage them, how to based on their roles enable them to access a specific folder or a specific page, and if they are not authorized for that particular folder or that page, then how to move them to the login page. Okay, so these kind of things we are going to learn in this how-to. And for that, what I have done is that my base application is the same application that we had used for the Forms Authentication how-to in the previous video. And on top of that, I am going to add a couple of folders and files. And for the first thing is that we are going to add one admin folder into my application. So first, let me create one admin folder here. Let me delete the current code from the default.asax page. So I am going to create one admin folder, and then under admin folder we are going to create one file. So let me create a default.asax file under the admin folder, and I'm going to select the master page as well here. Yes, code. So let me copy paste the code, and then let me explain you what is in this code. Here what we are doing is that we have simple one paragraph in blue called this page should be accessible only to the admin user. My purpose here is that whatever files will be there into the admin folder should be accessible only to those users whose role is admin. Okay, fine. Now we have to add one web.config file. So let me create a web.config file here as well. Web.config file, and in the web.config file we are going to add this code. Let me tell you what is this code. This code basically instruct the ASP.NET that we want to allow only those users whose roles is admin, and apart from that, if any other user is coming whose roles is not admin, then simply deny them all, because this web.config file is under the admin folder. Now let me show you what is next. So the next is the menu, include menu.asax, and in the menu.asax you will notice that we already have most of the code. Let me show you that, because I had used the same into my last video of ASP.NET Forms Authentication, and we have two more links here. You can see this. So I'm just going to copy paste two more links here, and those links are basically, one is the admin page, and let me show you what is the next one. Next is the admin at root actually. Yeah, so the first link is basically the admin page link that is targeting to the admin and default.asax page, and the second link is basically a link that will basically try to access the admin page at root.asax page that we are going to create in for few moments. Okay, and now let's go ahead and rest all the code of this menu.asax is the same as we had into the last how to. Now we already have a secure and default.asax page. Let me show you that secure and default.asax page. So that's fine, we are not going to do anything, and we have web.config file as well here, as you can see, deny users equal to question mark, and then we are going to create one page called admin page at root.asax page. So let me go ahead and create it in the root folder, asax page, admin page at root, and add. I'm going to select the master page and done. And now let me copy paste the code of this page. So here is my page, and I am copying and pasting the code. Now let me tell you what is inside this admin page at root.asax page. Here we have a paragraph, and in that paragraph we have written that this is the page at the root folder of the application and should be accessible only to the admin. Now here one thing you notice that right now we have created a admin folder, and we have kept a web.config file into the admin folder so that only user having the admin role should be able to access that folder. But what if I want to create any other page in the root or any other folder, and for that page I also want to implement a authorization so that only the admin user should be able to access it. So that's what I'm going to show here how to do that. So that's why what I have done is that I have created one admin page at root.asax page, because this page is in the root, so that's why I have kept this name. And in the code behind, what we are doing is that we are writing some code in the page load event. So let me add one namespace here using system.web. Yes. So if here using user.aginRole method we are trying to find out if the user who has logged in having admin role or not. If he doesn't have, then we are simply saying that redirect him to the Forms Authentication.login URL. Login URL will give you basically the URL that is specified into the web.config file as a login URL attribute of the forms tag. So what it will do is that it will redirect to the login page.asax page, means this page. Okay, and then it will end the response, as you can see the second parameter. Okay, now what's next? Next is the default.asax page at the root. We already have default.asax page, and then we have global.asax. This is very important. So let me first create a global.asax page here. So add new item and global and add, and here what we are going to do is that we are going to add one event called application_authenticate request. Let me first add it, and then I will explain this later on. Okay, and then this much code is still there, so I'm going to paste this also, and then let me just rectify if there is any error here. Yes, fine. Now here what we are trying to do is that we are catching the application underscore authenticate request event, and this is actually application level event. So whenever any user will try to browse our application, then what will happen is that this application underscore authenticate request event will fire. Okay, so it fires in case of any user who is trying to browse our application. And in this event, what we are doing is that we are checking if http context.current.user is not null. It means that if any user has already logged in, then naturally user object will be not null. And if no user has logged in, means any anonymous user is trying to browse the application, then this user object will be null, and the application will not come into this particular conditional block. So if user has logged in and he is authenticated, just we are trying to make sure that the user is also authenticated, and also if http.current.user.identity is forms identity, okay, it means user has logged in using the forms authentication. Then what we are trying to do is that we are trying to get the identity of the user, okay, using forms identity object. And then what we are doing, we are going to get the ticket. Okay, so using identity object.ticket, we will get the forms authentication ticket, and that ticket is nothing but the cookie. And using that ticket, what we are doing is that from that ticket object we are getting the user data, and then we are splitting it with the comma separated value. Now these things are related with the login page. When I will explain the login page, then you will be able to understand. But just for this, understand that user data contains the roles of the user, and that roles can be comma separated. For example, a person called ABC can have 2 to 3 roles. He can be moderator, he can be administrator, he can be a simple user also. So those roles, multiple roles, are separated by comma. So that's why I have split with the separated with comma, and that is basically giving me the array of a string. And that string, what we are doing, we are simply creating a generic principal and assigning to the current request using system.security.principal.generic principal object, and by passing the identity object that we had created here, and the roles that we have we have retrieved using the user data object or user data property. You can say, you can see that user data property is there. Okay, now what it will do, it will basically, for every request, if the user is authenticated, then it will try to get its role and try to set into the http context.current.user. And this basically helps us to use this method. Hold on. Yes, this method user.isinRole. If you will not specify this generic principal to the current user, then you will not be able to use this user.isinRole method. Okay, so that's why we are using it here. And that's it. Once we have done with application underscore authenticate request, then what we can do is that we can go ahead and change our code in the login page. So let me copy paste the code of the login page, and then I will explain it. So here is my login page, and this login page code is basically the code that I had used into last video of forms authentication. So I'm just going to remove that code, and then I'm going to add my own code of this how to. Yes. Okay, now let me correct all the code. There was one more extra closing braces. Okay, so we are done. Fine. Now let me explain the code of this login page. Now what will happen is that when the login button of this login control will be clicked, then it will execute login1 underscore authenticate server side method. And in this method, what we have done is that we have first declared the is authenticated boolean type variable equal to false, and we are trying to get the first name and last name. I am assuming that my first name will be username and last name will be with the password. And if first name and last name is correct, then what we are doing is that we are basically setting the is authenticated variable value is equal to true. and then we are checking that if is authenticated is true, then because I do not have any database here where I am storing the roles, so here I am just explicitly hard coding the roles. So I am checking that if login1.username is .equal is joy, means if it is joy, if I am logging in with the joy username, then specify its role as admin and moderator. And then we are using Forms Authentication ticket class, and we are trying to instantiate this class, and in the constructor of this Forms Authentication ticket we are passing the version number. Let me tell you clearly. The first is the ticket version number, so I'm just saying that 1, and then the username to associate with this ticket, and then date and time when this ticket was issued, means this ticket was created, and then the next parameter is date and time the cookie will expire. So I'm saying that after 20 minutes expire the cookie, and then whether the login one.remember me set, it means that whether to create the persistence cookie or not. Persistent cookie is created when the user select the remember me checkbox from the login control, and then the next parameter is the roles. So that's what the role is the string separated by comma, and then what we are doing is we are passing the last parameter as the cookie path. So I'm saying that forms authentication dot forms cookie path. If you will not specify any cookie path, then it by default takes the root folder of the application. So that's fine. And once we have that, means once we have created the Forms Authentication ticket, then what we are doing is that we are trying to encrypt the ticket so that it will be secure, and then what we are doing is that we are basically instantiating the HTTP cookie object, and we are passing the cookie name and the hashed cookie as the parameter. And once we have that, then what we are doing is that we are adding that cookie into the response object. So this will basically create a cookie using the whole encrypted cookie object. And once we have them, then what we are trying to do, we are trying to find out if user has come into the login page by redirecting from some other page. So if user will be redirected from some other page to login page, then return URL will not be null. So if it is not null, then what we are trying to do is that we are trying to redirect the user to the page from where it has redirected to the login page. And if return URL is null, it means that he has directly come to the login page. Then simply I am trying to redirect the user to the default page.asax. That's what is mentioned here, default URL. Okay, and rest all the codes, like for example the menu, as I said, menu.asax code or user control code is same. Now let me go ahead and run this application. So I am clicking on default.asax, right clicking, viewing the browser, and here is my page. Now let me just increase the size of the my browser window. Yes, now if I'll try to go to the secure page, because I am not logged in, so it is redirecting me to the login page with return URL. Okay, that's what I was talking about here, return URL. Yes, this return URL query string. And even if I am going to the admin page, it is still redirecting me to the login page with that return URL, and same to the case of admin page at root. Now let us first try to go to the login page by clicking the login link. Okay, now because this return URL is the default page, so now what I am trying to do is that I am trying to log in. Okay, so Joy and Alan. Now I am logged in, I will be redirected to the home page. Why? Because I had clicked the login link from the home page, and welcome Joy is coming. This Joy is coming from where? It is coming from the login name control from the user control. Okay, and then now when I will try to go to secure page, I will be able to go, because in the secure folder we have written that anyone who has logged in, means authenticated user, should be able to go. So deny user equal to question marks means, so only an anonymous user should not go to the secure folder, but if the user is authenticated, then he should be able to go it. Okay, now if I will try to go to the admin page, you can see that I will be able to go to the admin page also. Why? Because the role of this Joy is admin here. He is admin or moderator, both. And then what we are doing is that if I are going to admin and page at the root also, I am able to go. Why? Because in the page load event of this page we have written that if user is not in admin role, then only redirect to the login page, otherwise not. So naturally, because this user is with admin role, so I am able to go to this page. Now let me go to the database and select any user. For example, I am selecting MIC Mike and Paleo. Okay, so let me log out here and click again. Let me go to the home page and click on login, and MIC Mike and PALIO Paleo. Now login. Now again I am logged in, and you can see that I will be able to go to the secure page because I am the authenticated user. But as soon as I will try to go to the admin page, I will be redirected to the login page. Why? Because in this admin folder we have written that only user having the admin role should be able to visit this page. Okay, and because this Mike doesn't have the admin role privilege, because we have not specified the admin role for the Paleo, so that is why it doesn't have the admin role, so he is not able to go to the either admin page at the root page or the admin folder. Now ideally these roles should come from the database, but for this example I have just hard coded it here. Okay, this is the way to basically implement the role based authentication. Here you can see that I was trying to validate with the admin role. In the same way you can try to validate with any other role that you have in your application.